Hi troops, thanks for joining me. Today's guided reading session is simply just finishing off where we've left off. So I've got page 19 to 33 to read for you. And I've got a little vocab victor there for you as well. So that if you would like to, as we go through or perhaps at the end, you can listen out for any unfamiliar words, look them up, experiment with them in the same way that we would do in class. Okay, so last thing we had was Dad said, Liam, coach. Everyone cheered and clapped when I finally got on the coach. I sat by the window and tried to get a look at my new facial hair reflected in the glass. I could just make out little wisps of brown candy floss. I said, how did they get here? How did you think the extra gravity might have squeezed them out of my face? Randomly, this made Dad really furious. Liam, blah, blah, looking for you for the past 2 hours, blah, blah. Had every taxi driver in the country looking for you. Reported your magical disappearance from a moving bus. I wasn't on the bus. Your magical disappearance from a moving bus to the police. No. And then I find you cheerfully waving and eating chips on a fairground ride. How do you think I feel about that? Happy that I'm alive? He glared at me and said, possibly. In some remote and noble corner of my heart, yes, but mostly no. I'm going to stop doing the accent. For some reason, it's just not working today, guys. I'll try again tomorrow. I said, I'm sorry. Then he said, you should know better, a big lad like you. That's the thing about parents. If you go missing, they worry that you might be dead. Then when they find you, they want to kill you. Dad was furious because while he'd been worrying himself sick, I hadn't been worried at all. Why wasn't I worried? Because I knew he'd come back for me. I never thought for a minute he wouldn't. When you're a kid, you think your dad can do anything. It's different now. If you ask me now if I think Dad is going to pop up at the controls of this rocket 200,000 miles above the surface of the Earth and fly us back to Bootle, I'd say probably not. Suppose that means I'm not a kid anymore. Next chapter is called I Nearly Shaved Myself to Death. Even though I could barely see the premature facial hair, once I knew it was there, I couldn't stop thinking about it. It was ticklish and it was tempting to stroke it. Stroking it made other people notice it, and when other people noticed it, they tended to shout, Wolverine! And worse, which is why I decided to get rid of it. I slashed at the brown candy floss of Dad's razor, which did get rid of it. Sadly, it also got rid of a lot of blood. Sheets of blood just sort of fell from my face. I wasn't quite sure what the procedure was, so I just squashed a towel into my chin, prayed that I wouldn't die, and carried on squashing and praying for about an hour. I was starting to think that maybe I was already dead when Mum called me for supper. When I went down, he said, what happened to you? You look like you boiled your face. Dad said, he's been shaving. What? Said Mum. He can't shave. He's too young to shave. He's much too young to shave. Well, he's definitely too young to have a beard, said Dad, and he showed me how to shave in a less life-threatening manner. The only thing is, he said, now you've started, you'll have to carry on. The hairs will get harder and harder the more you shave them. So I don't get wisps of candy floss anymore. I get this stuff that looks like naturally occurring toilet brush. Mum said, Liam, you've got to stop growing so fast. I'm not ready to lose my little boy yet. Mum got so worked up about all this that she took me to see the doctor. The doctor said there was nothing to worry about. That made Mum really worried. She'd asked to see the specialist. Specialist in what? Well, you read about these people, don't you, who grow up too fast? Their hair starts falling out when they're teenagers. Then they get wrinkles and they look like old men, but they're only 20. She'd never mentioned these people to me before. She must have noticed my look of absolute terror because she said, they're very rare, but they do exist. You read about them on the internet, don't you? I was relieved when the doctor said, no, I don't think I have read about them, but to be honest, I could send you to see a bone specialist at the Children's Hospital. At the hospital, they gave me scans, blood tests, and an I've been brave sticker. They took me to see a specialist, then a special specialist. They both said that I was completely normal, extra normal, abnormally normal, but tall. He's just a little boy, said Mum. He's growing up too quickly. We all feel like that about our children, Mrs. Digby. The important thing is to remember that he is still a child, even though he looks like a grown-up. Just because he can't shop in the children's clothes section anymore, that doesn't mean his childhood is over. Boys grow at different speeds, particularly at this point in their lives. You might go back after the summer, Liam, and find that everyone's had a bit of a spur and you're not even the tallest in the class. Do you know, that makes sense, said Mum. His dad was tall at primary, and now look at him. He's well below average height. In fact, said Dad, I'm slightly above average. In fact, you are not. Only very slightly, but very, very definitely, I am above average. We'll talk about this another day, said Mum, which is what she always says when she wants you to shut up. The special specialist was partly right about the growing spurs. Nearly everyone had had one over the summer, including me. When Mum wanted to mark my height on the See How I Grow chart in the kitchen, she had to get a chair to reach the top of my head. Oh, she said, you've had a spurt. And Dad said, 7 inches is not a spurt. 7 inches is a mutation. On my very first day at Waterloo High, I was the tallest person on the lower school site. The new uniform Mum had bought at the beginning of the summer didn't fit anymore, and they had to send off for an extra large lower school blazer. I got a special dispensation to wear my own clothes for the first half term. When we went to get my travel pass for the bus to school, the woman in the office wouldn't believe I was school age, so we had to go home and get my birth certificate. And then the next morning, when I showed it to the bus driver, she wouldn't believe it was mine, and I had to get off the bus and text Mum, and she came down and explained to the driver of the next bus that I was unusually tall for my age. It's not the height, love, said the driver. It's the stubble. Mum said, am I going to have to do this every morning? Only till we all get used to him. In the end, Mum sent off for a passport for me. I kept it in my pocket in case I got questioned again. Dad said, that'll keep you out of trouble. How wrong can a person be, by the way? Dad also gave me his old mobile phone so that if he ever lost me again, like in Enchantment Land, he would be able to find me. His phone's got Draxworld on it. In case you don't know, that's this cosmic application that shows you your present location, directions to anywhere from anywhere, and also live satellite photographs of anything in the world. You can use it to look at volcanoes erupting, tidal waves, forest fires, anything. Dad uses it to make sure the traffic is flowing smoothly on the bypass. That first day at Waterloo High, I was on Draxworld all the way to school on the 61. I used it to look at theme parks and thrill rides. I found Oblivion in Alton Towers, Space Mountain in Euro Disney, the Terror in Camelot, Thunder Dolphin, Air, all of them. As the bus was crawling along Waterloo Road, As the bus was crawling along Waterloo Road, I typed in Waterloo, wondering if I'd be able to get a satellite view of me on the bus. Instead, the screen filled up with 10,000 options. There were Waterloos everywhere. Waterloo Station in London, Waterloo the port in Sierra Leone, Waterloo in Belgium. You could go round the whole planet just jumping from Waterloo to Waterloo. I found Waterloos with waterfalls, Waterloos in the jungle, Waterloos in snowy mountains, and Waterloos of sandy white beaches. I couldn't figure out why anyone who wanted to live in a Waterloo would think, yes, Waterloo, but not the one with the big beach or the one in the limitless white wastes of Siberia. No, the one with the flyover, handy for the New Strand shopping centre. Draxworld gives you directions to anywhere, so it's not like it would be hard. If you were a proper grown-up and not just a stubbly boy, if you were my dad, for instance, all you'd have to do is fill your car with petrol, turn left, turn right, go straight on, and next thing you know, white beaches, snowy mountains, coral reefs. Truly, grown-upness is wasted on grown-ups. Do you guys think that too? When I got to school, Mrs. Sass, the head, saw me in reception and said, "Ah, Tom? Liam? Yes, of course. I'm Lorraine. Come this way." I remember thinking, fancy her telling me her name. Isn't that friendly? Mrs. Kendall never told us her first name when we were in Joan of Arc. So Lorraine took me off to the staff room and started telling me the names of all the teachers. They all shook hands with me and said they were pleased to meet me. I was thinking, what a polite school. I wonder if they do this to every new kid. It must take ages. Then Lorraine said, "Everybody, this is Liam Middleton, our new head of media studies." And she was pointing at me. I knew I should have put her right there and then, but someone gave me a mug of coffee and a custard cream and sat me down in a nice, big, easy chair. So I thought, I'll tell her later when I've eaten the biscuit. Then Lorraine said, "We've got assembly this morning. I'll bring you up onto the stage and introduce you to the whole school. Do you have anything you'd like to say about you, like what football team you support or any special interests?" I suppose that would have been a good time to say, very interestingly, I'm not a teacher, I'm a year 7. But she just seemed so happy, so I said, I like to play massive multiplayer online computer games. God, that was a mouthful. She looked a bit blank. Like World of Warcraft, you know, where you have an avatar and your avatar has skills and goes on quests? Ah, said Lorraine, skills. We are great believers in promoting skills here at Waterloo High. I've got a lot of skills, I said. Of course, some of them aren't that useful in real life, like dragon taming. Some of them are illegal, like knife throwing. I think that's illegal. I think it probably is. I did try to persuade the head of my last school to start a World of Warcraft club, but she just looked at me like I was an idiot. Lorraine looked at me like I was an idiot. Then the bell went. We'd better go through to assembly. Maybe you should just introduce yourself. Don't worry about being interesting. That's how I ended up on the stage, standing just behind Lorraine while she talked to the whole school. There were about 8 people in the front row who knew me because they'd been at Joan of Arc Primary School, including Florida Kirby, who kept waving and making faces. Lorraine said everyone was welcome and she hoped everyone had had a good summer, and then something about a new registration procedure. And then she said, and now I'd like to introduce you to a new member of staff. He's going to be teaching media studies and he'll be form tutor for Class 9 Mandela. This is Mr. Middleton. And she pointed at me. I stepped up to the microphone and said, thanks, Lorraine. Sorry, Mrs. Sass. But everyone in the hall was already muttering, Lorraine, her name's Lorraine. And Lorraine was looking cross. All these faces were looking up at me. Part of me was thinking, I really should think more about the consequences of my actions. Then this wouldn't happen to me. But another part of me was thinking, this is good. I said, morning, everybody. And everybody said, morning, sir. Sir? I said, has anyone here been to Waterloo near Liverpool? 1,200 hands shot up and waggled in the air like a salute. Looking out at them, I felt like the bad emperor in Star Wars. I took a breath and said, has anyone been to Waterloo in Belgium, scene of the original Battle of Waterloo in 1815? No one. I said, Siberia. Siberia is big as Europe. It's got the largest freshwater lake in the world. A lake so big it has its own species of dolphin. The ice is so thick that the railway runs over it. It's also got a town called Waterloo. Has anyone been to Waterloo, Siberia? No one put their hand up. Why not? No one answered, but they all squirmed in their seats as though going to Siberia was homework and they hadn't done it. Waterloo in Sierra Leone? No one had. Sierra Leone has lush rainforests and amazing history. Anyone? No one. Why? They all squirmed again. Why have we all been to the Waterloo of the bypass and the shopping precinct when none of us has ever been to the Waterloo at the waterfall, the Waterloo in the jungle, the Waterloo by the frozen lakes? Why? You don't have to find a magic wardrobe to get them. They're not in Azeroth. You don't have to create an avatar and climb inside a computer. They're real places. You can go there by bus. Sometimes it will take a lot of buses. But they're just there. They're part of your world. Someone shouted, yes! I was amazed to see it wasn't one of the children. It was Lorraine. I realised now that she thought I was being metaphorical. She thought I was going to say something about how education opens up new worlds for you or something. But I didn't. I said, let's go. Come on, what are we doing here? Let's go, come on, follow me. I don't know where that last bit came from. It just came out. It was part of the flow of the thing. I walked out down the middle of the hall towards the doors at the back. It took a minute, but somebody followed me. Then someone else. Then someone else, and everyone followed me out of the hall, through the lower school exit and into the playground. The sun was shining, the birds were singing. I walked up to the gates and pushed. Nothing happened. Waterloo High is a high security school. The gates are locked at 9 a.m. and no one can get in or out without a swipe card. That's why there was a man in a leather jacket standing on the other side of the gates, talking into the intercom. I'm the new head of media studies, he was saying. And over the intercom, the secretary was saying, I don't understand, you're already here. You're taking assembly. By then, Lorraine was at the gate. She looked at the actual new head of media studies. Then she looked at me and hissed, who are you? I did try and explain it all to her. I said, I'm really sorry, Lorraine. Don't call me Lorraine anymore. It's Mrs. Sass. Yes, Mrs. Sass. When I got home, Mum said, so how did it go? First big day at school? I said, all right. Is that all you've got to say? All right. No. What else? I'm starving. sometimes it's better not to go into too much detail. See you tomorrow, guys.